Now in its 9th year, this is GABNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey everybody, this is Alex. Yes, and this is the Ramble, and we go until midnight tonight from New York, New York. That guy over there who's taking up most of the picture is Chuck Farnham. Yeah, every time we do a thing with Chuck Farnham, you probably get the feeling we're talking with somebody who's a Deadhead or a Grateful Dead guy, because you look like that.
And I've seen a lot of Grateful Dead shows.
Have
There's
you,
that problem too.
Did you do that?
Europe, Alaska, all over the country. Yeah.
What was it about them? I never really got into them.
Here, I can give you the story about how it happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
1978.
Yeah.
I was in Mountain View, California, buying tickets to see Neil Young record Rust Never Sleeps at the Cow Palace. I'm in line. There's a whole bunch of people behind me, a whole bunch of people in front of me. And the guy in front of me goes, "You're here for Dead tickets?" I'm like, "No, I'm here for Neil Young tickets." And he goes, "No, the Dead are coming back from Egypt, and they're going to play 5 nights at Winterland, and you got to go." And I go, "You know."
How old were you? How old were you at this point?
Probably 22.
Oh,
maybe.
okay. All right. Okay.
20 maybe. And I go, "Dude, I only know one song, Truckin', and I really don't care." And he goes, no, you got to go. You got to go. And the line just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And I go, and he goes, "No, you got to go. You got to go. This is going to be just unbelievable." I'm like, I go, "Okay, what show should I go to if I'm going to do this?" And he goes, "All of them." I'm like, "Okay, dude."
Wait a minute. Who is this guy?
I know one song. Are they going to do this song 5 nights in a row? And he goes, "Oh, no. You should just go." I'm like,
wait a minute.
okay.
Now, this is just an anybody who you're talking to?
This is a rando in front of me I'm buying Neil Young tickets, and he and his little troop of hippies are very excited the Dead are doing 5 nights at Winterland.
Mm-hmm.
So finally I go, "Okay, dude, somebody here must know something."
Yeah.
I'll buy 1 ticket. He goes, "Thursday. You want to go on Thursday night?" I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to buy 2 tickets to Thursday night." So I buy the 2 tickets. I take a friend with me, and he didn't really know the Grateful Dead either. And we were kind of close, but down front. And it appeared to us, as we were sitting there, I kind of tap him and I go, because we didn't know any of the music, and God knows they're not going to play Truckin'. I go, "Are you seeing this?" And he goes, "These people all look like they're floating." I mean, and I go, "In front of the band, they all look like they were levitating." And he goes, "Yeah, I see that too." And I go, "What the hell is this?" And he goes, I don't know." I go, and I'm like, "I have no idea either." And we kept doing this and kept staring at this thing. And finally the show's over, we go home, and we tell everybody that we went to this Grateful Dead show and we watched people levitate, which was it was October 21st, 1978. Fine. Come February, the Dead are going to play in San Jose at Spartan Stadium. And we have told everybody now about this fantastic floating band that we saw. And so now we have like 15 people that actually bought tickets based on our little story with us at Spartan Stadium. And Charlie Daniels was the opening
Those
act.
were in the days when we believed in levitation.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm there. I'm minding my own business. They did an entire show of basically country western music. Big River, Johnny Cash, Merle,
Mm-hmm.
all the big hits. While all these people looked at us and said, "What did you see again?" And then the guy was up. He goes, "No, no, no, they were levitating. I'm telling you, they were levitating." And I go, "They were levitating." And everybody went, "Well, nice little country afternoon with Charlie Daniels and the Grateful Dead doing Johnny Cash covers." Okay. I get home, I call the guy because I got his number. The guy was in front of me buying those first tickets. And I go, "What the hell was that?" First I see him levitating. Now I'm in a country show. And he goes, "That's why I told you to buy all the shows. You never know. Some suck, some don't." And I go, "You got to be kidding me. This is how this works?" And he goes, "They have no set list. It's whatever they feel like they're going to do." And at that point, I said, "Okay, I'm not going to miss one of these again, and I'm going to figure out this whole thing." And I saw them over 1,000 times. And it's still what it was back then. It reminds you of going to
what was this levitating?
I don't know. It's like it's like, and it'll sound weird. It's like the band plays the music and the music plays the band, and the audience is some kind of weird interaction with that, and you see this thing happening.
Did other people see in the other performances? Did you ever see the levitation again?
Oh yeah. It when it's a good one, it's a really good one. When it's a bad one, it's a really bad one. I took the wife, she had never seen him before. We were at Shoreline, and we were sitting there, and before the show started, everybody stood up at the same time, and there was no key to this. The lights didn't go down, nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
She's still sitting down, and I'm standing up, and then the music starts, and everybody starts dancing exactly the same way. And she looks over at me and goes, "Where did you guys all learn this dance? How can everybody in a room, it's like ballroom dancing, and everybody's doing the cha-cha here or something. You people are all dancing exactly alike." And I go, "Yeah, it just kind of happens. I've taken many people understand it, many people don't understand it. It's like going to your high school reunion."
Well, it was like going to your high school reunion because most of them are dead now, right?
Well,
and they're not grateful. They're not grateful for it.
They're less grateful than they used to be, but it turns out that it wasn't really the band, it was the music, because there are over 600 cover bands. There are 600 Grateful Dead cover bands floating around this country right now, and the last one that went around here sold out stadiums. They're not even the band in there selling out.
They don't care if they're dead.
No, it's about the music, because the music seems to treat everybody the same way. It's like
it never grabbed me. I tried to like it, I tried to get into it, but maybe because I never went to a concert.
Yeah, I mean, the records suck. Nobody will tell you that the Grateful Dead ever made a decent record. They're bad.
Yeah,
but
they had.
That's why the last few records they recorded them Marin Civic, and they recorded them in the dark at the Civic Center, like there was a non-existent audience there, and those sound better, but they still suck. That's why you have people with thousands of hours of tape and Sirius.
Well, they were the one band that allowed people to bring tape recorders and actually put them on stage to record the concert.
Yeah, we plugged into the soundboard out in the audience. I got pictures. I used to record a lot of shows, so yeah, and I still they did 3 nights in San Francisco in October or in July, and I was out.
I never even liked trucking.
I know. I don't understand it. It's a weird thing. You really need to, once you sit there, I think you and I sitting there at a show, we'd probably go, "Oh yeah, this makes some sense."
There's a band out now, I'm trying to remember their names now, that have that same kind of loyalty. Fish.
Yeah. I don't like Fish at all. But the other band that's just like this is Jimmy Buffett, the Parrot Head people.
Mm-hmm.
those guys, oh my God. And the weird
But
thing,
that one I really can't understand,
it's very
because
strange.
I not only don't understand it, I don't like Jimmy Buffett's music.
Oh, you didn't? Yeah, I like a couple of them, but his shows were very dead-like. I saw him twice, and his shows are very dead-like. And he actually did Grateful Dead songs during them too.
Oh, really?
So it was,
And does
it's
the
a weird.
audience levitate at a Jimmy Buffett? Well,
No, they were like older and drunk. Those guys drink margaritas, a lot of margaritas, a lot of margaritas. So yeah, so I'm in between Grateful Dead thingies. And the nice part now is when they do those shows, wherever they or these cover bands do the shows, nugs.net, you don't have to leave the house. I can get them satellited in here. Like Weir's doing stuff with the symphony now and some things. I can get that via satellite, so I don't have to even go outside.
Do you have a satellite dish?
They do it. They bring in a whole
No,
crew.
do you have a satellite dish?
Not in this house. No.
What do you mean not in this house?
Well, the previous house had a 12-footer. That house in San Jose had a 12-foot dish.
But there was a time where if you had a dish, I'm not talking about dish or
Oh no! It's,
DirecTV. I'm talking about a satellite dish. You could pick up any number of things. Like we used to watch a whole week as they were feeding the stations. We would watch a whole week of Jeopardy.
Or you could watch the news in between the news.
Yeah,
It was funny.
but Jeopardy, they would send them all down, and then what I would do, I was hanging out with a girlfriend who lived up in Sebastopol, and I would we would watch all of these, and then when I came back to San Francisco, I'd invite people over to watch Jeopardy with me, and I'd answer all the questions.
Of course you could. Yeah, nice. No, we had a 12-foot dish there in San Jose, and you could watch Letterman on a live feed to the East Coast. You could watch all that stuff. Funny thing, a couple weeks ago, I had to go to this conference in San Ramon, and I'm having breakfast, and the guy next to me, it was a very friendly thing, and the guy next to me starts talking to me. He was the VP of sales for Chaparral, who created those boxes that allowed you to watch that stuff like via satellite. So I had a Chaparral box in my house, and the guy goes, I used to work for Chaparral, and I'm like, oh my God. So me and him are rambling on about this and how to pirate the stuff off the box. And
well, I'll tell you, if people think that they have a lot of fun watching YouTube,
oh yeah,
satellite dishes were the original YouTube.
Yeah, they really were.
Because you would go surfing through the satellite dish, and then you find something. One day we found something so bizarre that we were just gobsmacked by it, and that was a channel for, I believe, people who were involved in autopsies.
Yeah.
And it was an autopsy channel.
Yeah, it was like...
And you could sit there and watch them hacking people up.
Hospitals would, teaching hospitals would send stuff from like Harvard to Stanford, and the doctors would be in Stanford watching autopsies, and you could dial into that channel and watch that too.
Right, everything was available, and they didn't scramble any of it.
No, and they had a zillion radio channels too. You could get a separate box for just radio signals and listen to millions of different radio channels all over the world.
There was a time though when I could go online, and I believe it was broadcast.com, which was owned by Mark Cuban. That's how Mark Cuban made his original billions, because he sold it off to, I think it was Yahoo or somebody like that, and then it didn't work for them, but they had their $5 billion that they were paid for it, and that's how he became a billionaire. And that channel used to have a lot of foreign channels. You could listen to radio from all over the world.
It was like shortwave, back in the 70s. Almost.
Yeah, but you could hear it clear, and it was like the...
Yeah.
And that was his big thing, broadcast.com. But what happened is a lot of these outfits said, oh, wait a minute, we don't want you pirating our signal,
Right.
So then it didn't become worth it to Yahoo to pay all these people for the rights to their signal. So,
And now they're sliding stuff around now where with we had the dish, we didn't have to watch commercials either. That was our thing.
right. But there was 2 minutes worth of silence, however.
Exactly. But during that 2 minutes of silence, maybe you saw Brokaw drinking coffee and farting, and doing the stuff that made him look like a real person.
Yeah. Don't you wish you had that footage today?
Yeah, it's probably around somewhere. Like the old with Buddy Rich yelling at the guy to get off the band because he had get out of the bus because he had a beard. We had all that stuff way back in the day, and now you find it on YouTube.
Yeah, I was just looking at my watch because every now and then it buzzes my hand.
Yeah.
And then it's breaking news, so I got to look at it because it might be something important. And then
Important,
it isn't.
really? I can't imagine that in the news.
And then it isn't. Okay. So.
I just shake my head. I watch the news, and I'm like,
Yeah. But my new watch.
Oh, you got a new one?
I got the Ultra. This is the best Apple Watch they ever made.
I got the high-end Apple phone the other day.
Oh, really? I'm waiting.
Oh, yeah.
I'm waiting because I'm expecting an influx of money. And when that happens, I'm just going to buy the phone outright. I'm not going to pay for it in payments,
Yeah. Well, here, you'll like this. Why I have the new watch, or why the phone is even worse. So my parents got themselves hooked up in a geriatric trial for some.
How old are they? Because you're no youngster.
My stepdad is 67. My mom
Wait a
is.
minute. How old are you?
65.
So your stepfather is 2 years older than you are.
We went to high school together.
Oh gosh, I remember that now. Yeah. Only with Chuck Farnham would that happen.
Yeah, it's a weird week. So anyway, they're involved in this program through some pharmaceutical company. You go to this hidden building, and you go in there, and they inject, I don't know, licorice into your eye or something. It's some eye thing. Anyway, I had to take my mom there a week ago Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's fine. Somehow my phone doesn't get out of the building. For whatever reason, it's now locked in this compound in the middle of Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
And then the day after we were there, which would be a week from yesterday, would be tomorrow, is a thing called Nevada Day, which is a rare occurrence on this planet, where they celebrate becoming a state like no other state does. They shut down the entire state.
I'm trying to remember. They were pretty much. They were weren't they right before Arizona in becoming a state?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, they shut down the whole state every year and have a big parade. And
I don't remember that. I lived in Nevada. I don't remember that.
Hookers, guns, it's crazy.
Well, the hookers part I like.
Yeah. Well, they shut down this building and they're not taking phone calls. And I'm like,
I wonder if there are any hookers with guns.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, the gun guys are usually right behind the hooker parade.
Oh, okay.
So it's like hooker, parade, float, gun guys.
So we might say that the gun guys are rear-ending the hooker float.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And the horses are up front because the gun guys aren't carrying guns, they're shooting them. Real guns.
They're shooting them?
Oh, yeah.
There's that old thing.
40 guys dressed in red all shoot guns.
I watch these guys in Muslim countries who are really happy, and then they shoot their guns up in the air.
Yeah.
Well, don't those bullets come back down?
They do. There's a thing called gravity.
Yeah, and is the propulsion as fast as the propulsion going up? No, I guess not.
No, probably not.
So people don't get hurt by the bullets coming down.
I don't know. You get hit on the head from something that's hundreds of feet in the air. I would think that would hurt.
Do they shoot them straight up, or do they shoot them at an
angle?
No,
shooting them out would make sense. When you see them, they're always shooting them like fireworks, straight up.
Straight up. Oh, God. Because then they come straight down.
Right. It's not good.
It's not bright. No.
So my phone is stuck in this building for 6 days because they're not open on the weekend. blah, blah, blah. Finally, I show up, get the phone. The phone's older, and it's kind of not working as well as it could. So I went in to get.
Hold on a second. See, this guy, I knew this guy would call me. Oh, God. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
So I got the new Apple phone. It was a very reasonable $1,700. $1,700 for a telephone.
1,700?
Yeah.
Why? Those
You
things.
have to ask,
Which one did you
them.
get? Which one did you get?
It's a 15 Pro Max with a
Oh,
terabyte.
Max. You mean the one, the largest size phone they've got?
But it's not that big. It's about the same size as my other one.
Let's hold it up. Let me see the screen. Turn it the other way. Huh. Because here's mine, my current one. How does that look to you?
What's the camera look like? Yeah.
Yeah, but
Probably a
I
14 or
think yours
something.
may be the larger one, but 1,700. These phones I think go for about 1,100, 1,200 now. The Pro, not the Max.
Right.
Does it fit in your pocket? Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll also do, if I got no cell service, it will do satellite communication.
Mm-hmm.
So I can send an SOS to AAA and get my car fixed.
I think this has something satellite based. See, this watch is like a sports watch that they have, but it's 49 millimeters opposed to 46 millimeter.
Right.
So
I have
it has a larger landscape on it, and it makes it easier for me to read at my age.
I've got the Model 3, but I rarely wear the thing. I needed it because I didn't have a phone. Oh, and does yours work as a telephone as well?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I have an AT&T account.
I like that feature was good.
Well, what happens is the other day I left the apartment. I forgot my phone, and then I went, I don't need it.
No.
Like my phone just rang there, but it also rang on my watch.
And if you can text people on the watch really nicely because it's got a microphone, and so you just dictate whatever.
If I send you a reply, I dictate it. I mean, sometimes it looks a little garbled when you read it, but who cares,
Yeah, and that's been pretty good. They've got that kind of figured out. But
well, I do remember the days when, like with, I remember Apple had the Newton, and they tried to have voice recognition, and it took forever.
$7.95 that thing.
It took forever for that phone to understand what you were saying.
Yeah,
it never worked. Finally, now they've got dictation down.
They figured it out.
You dictate a couple of things so the phone gets to know your voice, and it's doing everything.
It's good. I agree. I like it a lot. But man, so I've been running back and forth to the hospital is where I've been.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I got 2 calls this morning, and I discovered, I didn't think it was going to be a bother, but I had to be the guy who said yes to the DNR.
Oh boy.
And I fell apart. I've known the guy 50 years, right? My stepdad is in the hospital.
The guy that was in high school with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've known the guy 50 years. I think we had one argument in 50 years.
And he's dying?
Yeah, I don't like using the word, but he's back, and he's been in and out of hospitals for the last 3 weeks. And by in and out, I mean in a hospital, into another hospital, into another hospital. And his oxygen level this morning is not good. He keeps trying to pull the thing off. They put him in restraints so he wouldn't pull the oxygen off.
This is getting depressing.
Dude, you ought to be me. You ought to be trying to do anything and have a phone call about that. It's horrible. The whole thing is horrible. It's really horrible for him, or maybe he doesn't feel that. I don't know. I've talked to him. He's not communicating at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
This morning they rolled him back in. Apparently there's a spot in ICU that I haven't been to. They have an ICU for ICU.
Wow. Hey, listen, we got to go.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about this.
That was
Now in its 9th year, this is GABNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Oh, boy. Thank you very much, Chuck. The reason it ended so abruptly, here's what I did today. You know, Pops is just not doing things great now, you know. So I do the interview with him, and I'm like 23 minutes into it, right? And all of a sudden, I look and I see that I wasn't recording it. I was putting it up live. Yes, I was putting it up live. So, so I then, after the show, I went to YouTube. And by hook or crook, I had to do a few things because it wasn't easy to do. I downloaded the video. But apparently, it ended before it was completely finished. I mean, just you missed like 3 seconds or something, you know. But that was why that was that way. Okay, so anyway, but I was so proud of myself, though. I fixed the problem. That was what was so great. Anyway, what am I doing here? Let me see here. Let me have some coffee. This is not very good coffee. What it is, it's latte. They make a latte that you can make in your Keurig. And I thought, oh, you know, okay, why not? You know, and then the answer is no, not why not. You know, it's just not that terrific. So anyway, it's, you know, but we got a bunch of people who are, well, let me take it first. Is it any good? Yeah, it tastes okay. It's just not coffee, you know, it's not strong. I like strong coffee. I like coffee like I like my women, strong and black. No, anyway, let me see here. Are there people waiting to come on to this program? Yes, there are. And let me bring them on here and see how they're doing. Oh wow, we got a good healthy amount to start with. Okay, Jeff is looking for his audio. There he is, and he found it. You're good. You're fine. Don't touch a thing, Jeff. Don't touch a thing. You know. So anyway, how are you all doing tonight?
Well, pretty good.
Yeah. You know, I'm a little, as always, I'm always tired. I don't know why I'm tired. Maybe I tend to wake up as the show goes on, you know? So that's a hint that, you know, that it invigorates me, but waiting for it makes me bored. It's weird being the same age as old people. You've had that one on before. Yeah. Is that for my benefit?
That's for my benefit.
For your benefit.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's kind of strange that I'm waking up every morning in bed next to a woman who kind of starting to look like my mother. You know, because she's like, tomorrow, birthday, big birthday tomorrow, major birthday for her tomorrow. She's going to be 100. No, she's going to be.
Just not.
Better clarify that.
You're in trouble.
She's going to be 80. She's going to be 80. I still go out with younger women. You ready for that?
Right?
Yeah. So
He's
anyway.
a good-looking babe. That's what I say.
She's okay, you know. I see her getting older, okay? And she sees me getting older. But it isn't nice that we can see each other getting older, you know. It's a sweet thing. Hey, Kevin, I saw another one of your videos up the other night. And
yeah, last week.
And I think it was a recent one. Is there a recent one?
Yeah, probably last week.
Was
yeah,
that,
they had their, we had our home show here I did for the kids.
Out on the field?
Yep.
If you get a chance, go onto YouTube and look up Kevin Stopper, and watch the videos of these kids. You know, I mean, it's not that the music is great, but it's the fact that this is the beginning of their musical lives. You know,
Yep.
and they're learning how to work and blend together as an orchestra, which is a very difficult thing to do. I don't think I've ever heard. Kevin, have you ever heard a group of musicians that young all playing together that aren't a little off key or a little, you know what I'm talking about? But
there's some that are off key, and there's some that are pretty damn good too.
Really,
There's a lot of them that, like, these middle school. Some of these middle schools are really hardcore, and we've got a group down here. The CMEAs are they're the top end, and my daughter used to get taken into those, and they're the what do they call it? I gotta remember what the CMEA stands for, but it's they have to audition to get into this, and it's a group of schools like between, the area, but I know these guys don't, but San Luis Obispo up to Santa Cruz, and they pick out a group of kids, and they all audition online or whatever.
So they get the best of the best.
They get the best of the best, and then they practice for 2 days, and then they do a 2-day concert or 1-day concert, and it sounds amazing.
Well, online, and I don't know why it is that there are so many of them online, but there are a lot of schools that are doing as a school musical.
Yeah,
the producers.
Yeah,
and they do it from beginning to end. I mean, nothing.
Yeah.
But the music has a little bit to be desired. The singing is great, but the music is a little off.
Yeah,
and
they're learning.
Yeah, it's that learning off. I'm sure there's a point at which people who aren't going to be musicians don't become musicians.
Right. And you can hear them get better too.
Yeah,
when they start, it's really
imagine that. Yeah. Because usually that's the violin is an instrument. You really should start teaching a kid at, say, about 5 years, 6 years. You start them because it's a facility that has to be,
Yeah, Sarah started piano at. We started her at 4.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about.
And the piano is like a stepping stone to everything. Once you learn piano, you can kind of grab onto just about everything. Once you learn theory and all that.
Well, yeah, but I think that if you're going to play something like a trumpet, you need to have an embouchure, which is the way your mouth forms and so on.
Yeah, well, you figure that out later. But I mean, when we bought her a saxophone, she said she wanted to play the sax.
Did you change your name? Did you change your name to Lisa?
Yeah, right. But
I thought I played the sax in the school band in high school. Yeah.
Yeah, she went from piano to sax, and we said, okay, well, if you're going to get serious, we're going to do this slowly. And we rented one, and we were going to rent it for 2 weeks, see how she did. And we rented it, and she went up into her bedroom, and next thing you know, we're hearing happy birthday, we're hearing this, we're hearing actual songs coming out of the room. I'm going, wait a minute, you just got this thing. She goes, yeah. I said, okay, well, and then 2 weeks later, I'm on Amazon buying a $300 sax because I'm not going to rent it forever as long as she's doing it. And then she got into it.
But she had also played the piano before that, you say?
She played the piano from 4 years old all the way up till this was until middle school, like the beginning of middle school, 6th grade.
But this was like a stepping stone. The piano is a stepping stone to everything else.
Right. It's the theory, the musical theory. You learn all the theory and how to read the music, and A, B, C, D, E, F, G, flats and sharps and all that, and how to actually read the music, and then you can kind of pick up things after that. I mean, one time she picked up a bassoon in the 6th grade and started playing that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. I'm going, what else can you do? And then she bought a ukulele one day, and
Well,
She didn't
it always amazed
take
me.
on to that very much.
I
but-
think my father started playing the violin at about 20, maybe 19. And he became a very accomplished, became a very accomplished journeyman musician. Now, if people don't know what I'm talking about, a journeyman musician is one who can pick up the music, put it in front of him, and then play it.
Yeah.
With great.
Well,
with-
and that's what they do. I mean,
Yeah.
she was going to, she would go to a class, or they would go to a group of musicians and they would just play.
yeah.
And you get handed music. Like she would go to the saxophone Christmas every year. That's her thing that she does every year.
Mm-hmm.
The third Saturday every year, they get 300 saxophones together. These people have never played together. They, never don't know each other. They sit in a room for 2 hours, and then we go to the mall, and we go to a mall and a shopping center and an outdoor venue, and they all play, and they play great. I mean, that sounds awesome.
It sounds like your daughter's on her way to a career in music.
Well, she's playing in the Oregon University of Oregon marching band right now.
And what's
We're
she
going up to
playing?
see her this weekend.
Wow. Yeah.
What's she playing
her
with them?
sax.
Sax. Wow.
Yeah, we're going to go see her this weekend up in Eugene, the Cal game.
Isn't that terrific?
Yeah,
Isn't that
it's exciting because I love it.
I think that, I grew up in a
You
musical.
can see her there. I don't tape those; they get those professionally taped.
They get on TV is what they do. They get
As a
on
matter
TV.
of fact, you know what they're doing is they're doing the Metallica challenge. So Metallica released all their rights to their music to the high schools and the college marching bands.
Wow.
They let them do their music for free, and then I guess towards the end of the year or sometime in the next year, they're going to pick colleges or high schools to play with them in a venue or on an album.
Wow.
Yeah, so that would be cool, because if you've seen them, some of these bands do that, and they did it with an orchestra last year, I think, or the year before.
Well, I'll tell you something, folks. The best thing you can do for your kid is to teach them music.
It increases their grade point average. It's proven that it increases their grade point average. It increases their time management skills. It does all kinds.
Well, my
of stuff.
father
There's
was always
studies, all
hoping
kinds of
that
stuff.
it was always hoping kind of that I would go into music, and I just never did. I mean, he put me. I can't tell you how many instruments I went through trying to learn something, or to grab something that I really found interesting. I mean, I was always very musical.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. I was too lazy. All right.
Yeah.
Because
That's usually what happens.
my father tried to get me to learn the violin. I got tired of holding it under my chin. I just got, oh boy, here it is, it's under my chin. I didn't like that, and my father had calluses on his neck from all the year playing the violin. I said, I don't want one of those. So then another thing, then he said, well, what instrument would you like to try? And I don't know why I said it, but I said the trombone. So
That's hard.
So he found me somebody, because he was in bands. He had friends who were musicians who could teach me, right?
Yep.
So he found me somebody to teach me trombone. You know what I like best about playing the trombone? The spit valve.
It's pretty nasty when you get going.
No, but the
You open up the valve.
incentive.
Yeah.
The incentive. No, it was a little flip thing. But the incentive for me to play the trombone was to play it enough that it got enough spit that I could open the spit valve and a bunch of it would come out.
Drool out. Yeah.
Yeah.
You always
That
got to
was so
clean it
gross.
afterwards too.
So
Always had a
needless to
thing that you
say,
stick in there, and
needless to say, that instrument didn't work for me. Okay. What else? Were there other instruments he put me through? He didn't want to push me because he figured if I wasn't going to play music, I wasn't going to play music. But I was very musical. That's the funny part about it. So, you could hum a note to me and I'd hum it right back to you in perfect key and things like that, and And I never had a problem that way. I never had a problem. I had a problem reading music. That all seemed like garbage on the page to me.
Yeah.
You know, how anybody can turn this into music was amazing to me. But then I didn't. He quit trying to get me to learn something, and I started playing the piano. A rock and roll kind of Jerry Lee Lewis style piano, but I started playing piano. Not great, but playing it enough that I had a little band and everything.
Yeah.
You know, but that didn't last long either because there was no spit valve. So, you know,
I thought about trying to learn to play the piano. I played guitar for a while, but it never progressed.
Well, everybody wants to play guitar because they think they think it'll get them laid.
I tried. Didn't work.
Didn't work.
I got so far, and then you got to get deep into it, and you got to constantly be doing it. Constantly be doing it.
Jeff?
Yeah, I played guitar when I was a teenager, and I gave it up because that was okay, but I was mediocre, and I knew I would never be great. Okay, but my son Andrew, he started playing instruments, and what Alex's dad used to play?
Violin.
So Andrew started playing a violin. And I said to Pam, I said, you can't have a kid playing a violin. When he grows up, they're going to want to beat him up instead. I said, they got to get him a guitar.
Well, there's a couple of problems with the violin. First problem is when they decide that they can't hire a full group of musicians, instead of hiring an orchestra, they hire a band. And a band has no string instruments. Well, it has probably, something like, you could consider the piano a stringed instrument, actually. But I mean,
bass.
Bass. Yeah, you'd have that. But a bass can be upstaged by a tuba, believe it or not. So, but anyway, so I just never, and it's funny because all the effort that I didn't want to put into music, I then put into the things I did in broadcasting or in video or whatever. I learned incredible amounts of things that I mean, like, look at me doing this right now.
Yeah.
I had no problem learning this because I had a fascination with it.
Yeah.
So, but there was a lazy part of me that just not would allow me to play an instrument. So I never did. And my father one day said, look, you never played an instrument. I thought that was going to bother me, but you play a turntable better than anybody I know. And he considered the fact that I was successful in broadcasting to be where it all came out. It didn't come out as a musician, but it came out as an entertainer. So,
right. She found a camaraderie with the band people, and that helped too. There was a bunch of people, a bunch of friends, and they all hung out at the band room when she had in between classes. She would go down there, and her friends would help her with schoolwork, and then they'd play music, and it was just something that something that happens, and it's good.
Well, did you ever see that movie that Jack Nicholson made? I'm trying to remember. It's like the second big film he made, where he grew up and he was born into a musical family.
I think I know what. 5 Easy Pieces.
Five Easy Pieces, right?
Yeah, because I remember that one. Yeah,
and it was but he was born into a musical family, but he didn't play music, and he didn't want to play music, and he was kind of the outsider in the family. That's exactly my life story, because almost the Schwarzman family in San Francisco were the premier musicians in San Francisco. My aunt was a harpist, my uncle was a pianist, my father was a violinist. There's
always a singer in there somewhere, probably.
No, well, yes, well, actually, no. I had a cousin who was a pianist, who was a concert pianist, but he wasn't on the Schwarzman side. He was on my mother's side, and then he had a wife who was a soprano, a concert singer.
Yeah, there you go.
An opera singer. And so all these musicians all around me. And when we would go to parties, you know, people would say to this little kid, "So what instrument do you play?"
Yeah. You felt like an outcast.
And I said something
spoons?
like, I wasn't old
Voice
enough.
is an instrument. Come on.
If I wasn't old enough, but I probably would have said my penis. You know, I mean,
He plays the radio.
But no, there was an expectation that I was going to be a musician. And I thought I was always letting my father down, who I worshipped, you know. But he always encouraged me. He said, "You've gone into radio. You do it really well, you know." He said, "I'm very proud of you." He said, "You found your instrument."
Right.
You know. And I think that, and as I say, the kind of effort I put into playing that instrument was every bit as much the kind of hard work I would have put into playing a violin or a trumpet or whatever. So. But anyway, if you're going to teach your kid an instrument, make sure it's anything with a spit valve. Okay.
Well, we know a guy, Nick, who plays in San Francisco on the trombone.
Mm-hmm.
And in San Francisco, I guess they have one place that's the classical, the whole band. There must be a place in San Francisco that performs then, and that's where he works. That's where he
My
plays.
father played with dance bands, but then he turned around and he played with the San Francisco Symphony, and then he turned around and he played with an orchestra at one of the Broadway shows that would come to town. You know, he was just a guy. You threw the music in front of him and he played it. That was it. You know, he knew. But times changed, and they went to combos instead of orchestras. And when that happened, there was no work for violinists anymore. So he went into real estate, you know. And towards the end of his life, he went back to music in a way because he became a worked for the Musicians Union as a I forget what they called them now, but they would go out to all the different clubs and make sure the musicians were being treated well, and he enjoyed that a lot because he got to mentor a lot of musicians. And there was this one kid that he told me about that he heard because they gave him, because he was the newest guy, they gave him all the clubs like the Fillmore and the Matrix, and there was one of the Avalon was another one, because none of the other guys wanted to work with these young kids who were playing rock and roll and things like that. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, in order to get into the Musicians Union in those days, you used to have to be able to read music. I know it sounds strange that should be the major requirement, but a union's main job to the employer is to say that you're hiring competent people who know how to do the skills like that. And he ran into this guitar player who was phenomenal, but he couldn't read music. And he said, I can't get into a lot of the big places. And he said, my father said, why? He said, because I don't play music. So he took this kid to the Musicians Union and said, you should let this guy join the Musicians Union. He said, well, let's hear him play. And let's see how well he reads music. He says, he doesn't read music. He said, well, then he can't join the Musicians Union. He said, wait till you hear him play. And he had him play for these guys. And they were all blown away by him. And they gave him his card. He became a member of the Musicians Union.
Jimi Hendrix didn't read music.
Yeah. Well, my father got them to break the major rule, okay? And I see your hand raised. I'll get to you in a second, Tom. He got this kid into the Musicians Union, and that kid later on became famous. Now I forgot his name. Oh,
Steve Miller.
Steve Miller. You know the story.
Oh,
It was Steve Miller.
That's what I'm raising my hand about.
Yeah, it was Steve.
That's right.
It was Steve Miller.
wow.
And when my father died, my mother got a very nice letter from Steve saying, if it weren't for your father, I never would have made it in this business. and it made me feel really good because at that time I was playing Steve Miller's music. Well, I had them.
Matter of fact, I remember him talking about that, but he didn't mention any names. But he did talk about not being able to read music, and it was in an interview not but a couple of months ago, maybe a month or two ago.
Actually, that's what I wanted to say. It was on KPFA. Tom Mazzolini, who does the
maybe
Saturday
that's
Morning Blue show, he had a 2-part interview with Steve Miller from several decades ago, and I forget who the interview was with. But one of the things that I thought was interesting in the interview was when he was really, really little, his family knew Les Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And so Steve Miller's mentor was Les Paul.
Wow.
Did you remember hearing that?
No, I didn't.
No, I didn't hear that, but it was a more recent interview because he was in the area not too long ago. I saw him at amphitheater probably 2 years ago, year and a half, 2 years ago, over at Shoreline. But it was between then and now that I heard the interview.
Yeah,
I
this was a
forgot where
recorded interview from
Ern.
I don't know how long ago, but it was but Tom Mazzolini on KPFA did a 2 parts, and I said that was several months ago, but it was a great interview. I really was fascinated.
Well, I mean, it got to the point now where all musicians don't. In fact, who was it? Glenn Campbell didn't know how to read music, and he played with the with what they called the what's that? A bunch of
Grand Ole Opry?
No. The Wrecking Crew.
Wrecking Crew.
Yeah.
They were the guys who were on almost every hit record.
Didn't
even if it was a Beach Boys record, they were playing the music for the Beach Boys.
Didn't Jerry Lee Lewis also say he didn't know how to read music?
I don't know. I would imagine he didn't. He didn't have to. He kind of made up his own style.
He was kind of a banger too. Yeah,
he was kind of a banger. But I mean, it was interesting that that these people, a lot of them didn't know how to read music, and but the Musicians Union by that time had changed their rules, and so as long as you could go down to the Musicians Union, sit there, and show them that you could play, then because a lot of the people that were playing music who they wanted to keep in the union were these punk kids, So and some of them could play. I mean, they read. There was no problem with that, but they didn't want to be that impediment for somebody to be kept out of the union. So anyway, on the other hand, I think my union has gotten a deal yet. I think the strike's going to go on till after the first of the year, because they say they're going to stop talking at the end of this week, and it's horrible.
Elvis Presley couldn't read music.
Yeah, but he didn't.
Maybe that's what I was thinking.
He really didn't play much.
Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton.
Oh yeah.
Jeez.
Oh yeah, that's right, Eric Clapton too. Yeah.
Well, something. I think in a way that,
and most of them are blues, because blues is just a EAG type thing.
Well, I think also there was a great deal of work that went into this by them to learn music without having to read music. It allowed them to create their own style, and that makes a big difference. And the style was a big deal, they sometimes if you're taught music in a certain way, or you're taught something, and you just work within what you were taught, you're never going to grow and become special.
You're forced into a box.
Yeah, you're forced into a box. So what happened when these people they could belong to the Musicians Union, but they no longer had to read music, it freed them up to be who they were, whether it was Jimi Hendrix or Steve Miller, or Glenn Campbell was one of the greatest guitar players that ever lived.
Yeah.
Stevie Wonder couldn't read music.
They had those bump cards, little bumps on cards.
I'll never forget the time that Stevie Wonder called me at the radio station during a break here in New York and said, "Hey, Alex, why don't you meet me outside after the show and I'll take you for a ride?"
Yeah. Getting ready to drive over right now.
He loves to do stuff like that. The last time I ever saw him, I was at a party, and he walked in and he walked right by me. And later on in the evening, I sidled up to him and I said, "Stevie," he says, "Who's that?" I said, "Alex." "Oh," he says, "Alex, how are you?" I said, "Well, now you're nice to me, but you know, you're such a big star now. You walked in, you hardly noticed me." He loved stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know? He actually used to take cars out into a parking lot at night that was empty and get behind the wheel of the car and drive.
Drive by barrel, the dots on the road.
Well, I mean, he would have somebody tell him where he was and turn left here and do this. But, you know, he wasn't about ready to let his blindness stop him from anything.
I know a lot of people that can see drive like that.
Yeah. But I would imagine
Still
that
driving that way.
I would imagine that, yeah, Stevie Wonder couldn't read music. But listen to all the great music he created.
Yeah.
You know? And you say, well, how do these people write music if they can't read it? Well, they do it, and then they have somebody else write it down.
Yep.
On a page.
It's all about the ear.
It's all about the ear. Talent many times can be constrained by being taught that talent. And what you have to do, I mean, like, for instance, nobody taught me radio. I mean, when I went to school, I took a class in radio at San Francisco City College. But it wasn't, you know, I didn't learn anything there. Where I learned was by working at radio stations and just trying what I tried. And the reason why I did okay in this business is because I was so different, because I didn't abide by any rules of the road. And that's what I think you have to do. I mean, yes, something like an instrument, you have to teach somebody how to play it, although they could pick it up and learn it on their own if they really have the ability. But there's a point at which you just tell them, look, throw all the rules out the window and just, you know, go at your own speed and at what you believe is the right way to do it. And that's the way you come up with something new. You don't come up with something new by doing something somebody's already done. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, so much for that from a guy who had no success really at all. So, you know.
They have a funny meme, and it has like Freddie Mercury, and it says he wrote all his songs, he did all the music for it, he did this, you know. And then they show, like, I think it was Beyonce or somebody else, and it said, like, you know, she had 5 writers, or maybe Celine Dion, 5 writers, and, you know, all these producers and all these people, you know, just showing how, you know, these rock and roll stars back then, they did everything, and now they have all these writers that write the songs for them, produce the songs for them, and do all the music for them, where these guys did all the instruments and everything.
Oh, the old days, in the very first days of rock and roll, they used to go into a garage, throw a microphone over the beam in the garage, and then record a song and send it off to a company and see if they'd want to release it, you know.
Yeah.
Today, it's all manufactured. I don't care what you say. You know, even Taylor
Yeah, you'd
Swift.
be surprised how many or who writes people's songs when you really read the credits.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised
Yeah.
who writes whose songs.
Well, if you get the chance to see it, the movie about the Wrecking Crew is around. And these are guys who played on almost everything. I mean, you thought that the Beach Boys played their instruments. No. There was a Wrecking Crew. They then learned how to play it when they went out on the road. You know, so in those days, not everybody was as they seemed to be. Okay, the Wrecking Crew backed everybody from the Beach Boys to Frank Sinatra to Phil Spector and all of his records to somebody else who might be a big, Nat Cole. You know, I mean, it's just amazing. Just amazing. Yeah. But today, music's a whole different thing. Music is purely manufactured today.
Yep.
You know, lay down this track, lay down that track. What happens
me
with
that one.
what happens
Send me
with
this.
what happens with most groups, most singers, is once they release their album and they're going to go out on the road now and do concerts, they have to go back and listen to the album and learn how to play the music that they're credited with.
Yeah.
You know, so not much of anything. How you doing, Tom? We see you occasionally now, you know.
Yeah, actually, I came on to mention that. I told you before. My granddaughter is playing the violin in her middle school, in the middle school orchestra,
Yeah.
and so she's been at it a couple of years. So I guess she started at 10, 11, something like that.
Yeah, that's a good time to start.
What's that?
That's a good time to start. You know.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and went and saw her fall concert last week, and fantastic. They're doing great.
They're great.
They've actually done the national anthem at the A's games a couple times, and next spring, they're going to Disneyland. So.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, as I say to any parent out there, I'd say that to you, Brian. Adrian doesn't play anything, does she? Or you're not teaching or anything?
No, just that she's doing 9 classes of dance a week.
Well,
so.
dance.
So when would she have time?
Yeah.
No.
I try to get her in basketball, but it's like they practice 2 days a week, but she's dancing.
It's
three
the
and a
arts.
half, 3.5 and 4 hours on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursdays.
Listen,
So my schedule.
No.
Yeah.
She dances those 3 nights, and my work schedule works around her dance schedule. So
Right.
I'm in Sunnyvale 2 days, so I can actually come back home and take her or pick her up. So I remind her every day.
It's the arts, and that's what counts nowadays. Is the arts is
Yes.
a big deal.
Yeah.
It needs to be a big deal.
well,
I've been pushing that hard at the high school.
Of
down
course,
here.
it needs to be a big deal, and I think that it's very
It's
good.
always been pushed back.
And she doesn't need to learn an instrument. The dancing
Yeah.
thing is enough. You know, that's special in and of itself. And she
And then the
seems to
junior
like it.
high, they have a dance team, but she may still be at the studio. And then even the high school has a dance team. But I do want her to do some basketball too, because her height, she's got to take advantage of that. I just want to do some
She is
sports or
getting
something
tall.
for college, to get into college.
She is getting tall, isn't she?
Yes. Yeah.
Dance will get her in there, get her on the field.
Well,
with
you're
the
tall,
cheerleader,
but
too.
you're tall.
Yeah.
How tall are you?
6'4".
6'4".
Yeah. Sometimes
Yeah.
6'5", my hair.
Yeah.
I'm 6'4", and she's definitely tall. She hangs out with all the 4th graders, so.
Yeah. But I remember her when she looked small. You know.
Yeah, but even then she was taller than others in her age group.
Yeah. When she was in daycare, she was going from the 3-year-old class to the 4-year-old class, and there's a picture of her, and she's looking down at the kids talking to them.
Yeah, they go in spurts. They'll go up.
Well, is
then
there
they'll
any-
stop,
is there
stand,
any-
and they'll go up.
Is there any idea of how tall she will wind up being?
No, but every time we went to the doctor, they do that chart, and she's in the 98th percentile, so she's taller than 98% of the kids her age.
That's good.
Okay. But that only has to be a couple of inches taller, right?
Yeah, but just more than a couple inches.
Yeah.
Well, how tall is she now?
I don't know. I don't know. She's here.
Okay.
You're 6'4".
But
You don't stick her up against the wall and put lines on the wall in there somewhere?
Yeah,
Okay.
don't get me started. So we have a pole. We have a pole in the garage that we've been since we moved here, like 7 years.
Yeah.
And then my stupid painter, I told him, don't paint over this.
Oh no!
Right.
Sure enough, man, I came back and they shot everything. I was so mad.
Ah,
Tiffany's like, "Oh, don't worry about it." I said, "Oh."
You don't understand.
that sucks.
Yeah.
I kept taking pictures of mine in case that happened.
Yeah. Well, I think you guys saw the pictures tonight. So
I didn't see him.
there's so this is Adrian when she's 5 days old, getting the bath in the bowl.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then that's her like I have every year, but I can't find where they are. That's like 3 or 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have now,
She's wearing it on her head.
yeah. This is from her like last year, and that was her tonight in the same bowl. At least she's laughing. Last year, she was not happy. She
Not
seemed
laughing.
like really down.
Not amused.
But she looks quite adult for her age.
Yeah.
You know.
My mute. Yeah, she's gonna be. I'm gonna be doing that till she dies.
Yeah.
Or no, sorry, till I die.
Yeah.
She's stuck with doing that until I die. Every year, her birthday, she's got to do that.
Are you gonna have her sit in the cup?
Yeah, you think so. Good luck with that.
She was actually. She was
8 years so far. It's good.
Jeff.
Yeah, well,
Jeff's guy's hand.
So yeah, one of my granddaughters is an athlete, and she wakes up at 4:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and she knocks out with balls. She goes through like 55 balls and whacks them in the first thing in the morning,
Wow.
just to keep her exercised.
Oh, that's incredible.
And she's talking to all kinds of colleges
Hmm.
who like said, well, we'd like you to come over here and just talk to us and see what's going on and how you've been playing and this and that and the other thing. They think she's going to be somebody who's going to go to college with an education based upon sports.
Well, good.
Yeah.
So
What you want?
Yep.
Yeah, and that's what I say too. You know, you use that for sports or for getting into school is great. You know, for trying to make pro and all that stuff.
Yeah, there have been some arguments about that, though. That some, for instance, colleges.
It's hard.
Some colleges have been doing this whole thing where they have these people, these kids, come to their school and they let them write in and pay the tuition and all of that because they're good at football. Meanwhile, they're pushing aside people who really, the education would make them very important people in our society, but they can't get it because they're making all the room for the players because they bring the money into the college.
Mm.
And there's a whole thing on 60 Minutes about this, in which it's just some people are just really grieved over the fact. One girl said, I had this grade point average and this and that and everything, and then I went to this school and I couldn't get in because they were making room for all the legacy people, you know. And this has been a real problem lately, you know. So
I think a kid has to work on both.
Yeah.
yeah, well,
And any kid who's a good athlete realize, come on, who is going to become a professional athlete? One out of what?
Yeah.
well,
100,000?
also look how much it costs to go to college. I mean, ask Brian. Brian will tell you. Kevin, excuse me. Kevin. Brian will be telling you in a few years.
Yeah, I'll sell a car for that, I guess.
It
My
ain't
daughter
cheap.
had a basketball scholarship.
Oh, really?
So I love her the best because she saved me all that money. The other
Good
two
for that.
were academic, and so I had to pay thousands and thousands of dollars for that to go.
Yeah. How about you, Kevin? How much did you have to pay a great deal of your daughter's education, or did she get scholarships?
Now my older
and-
daughter,
She
because she had the scholarship, and of course she never went to try and go pro or anything like that. She's a physical therapist now.
But how about you?
Yeah.
How about you, Kevin?
Yeah, we got some scholarships, but nowhere near what covers the bills.
Yeah.
It's a big bill. Yeah,
Did you have to go out and
50 grand.
do you have to go out
50
and,
plus grand.
Do you have to go out and borrow it, or did you have it?
Both. You know.
Yeah.
I have good grandfathers.
Yeah, we do have good grandparents.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how you.
We're major
And
contributors to that
Yeah,
business.
and I prepared for it too as well. So, luckily.
You know, I think there's a big questions being asked lately about people going to college at all, whether it's needed or it's unnecessary. You know,
I agree.
and that a lot of money is being wasted on people going to college. If you're going to be,
Tell me about it.
well, yeah, I mean, I went into radio, And I went to City College of San Francisco, and then I was going to go to San Francisco State, and I decided the hell with it. I was already in radio. What did I need to go to somewhere to study for it? And I did okay. The point is that people, this idea that you have to go to a college in order to get an education, when some of the best education is getting the job you love, the kind of job you love, whether it's in radio or whether it's being a musician with a band or whatever, any number of things. The internet, just doing shows on the internet and making money off a podcast, which some kids out there are doing very nicely by. Okay? What do you need college for? Maybe you need college for, being a doctor. But then again, shouldn't being a doctor send you to a trade school?
And mentorship is big. So I had a mentor when I was in high school, and I worked for Special Physics my junior, senior summer, and then I worked at Hewlett Packard on my senior year in high school. And I had a mentor, and that's what pushed me and got a lot of chances for me.
Did you have a college education?
Nope.
See? And you're doing well, aren't you?
Yeah, it's very rare.
Neither did I, and I did fine.
Yeah. And I
also worked my ass off. I mean,
exactly.
There is a difference. I mean, the difference is, I saw around me after I worked my ass off, I saw people walking in and making as much money as I did just by having a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Alan,
walk in and they say, "Oh, well, you got a college education." And they walk in and they got this piece of paper and they can make just as much money as I did over 20 years. They can walk in and make it right now.
Yeah, but it's highly overrated.
Because I don't disagree with you there.
I said to my father once, I said, well, I'm going to college now. And he said, yeah, did you learn anything? Just because you go to school doesn't mean you learned anything.
Well, it doesn't mean you don't either.
Right.
I mean, you do learn.
Right.
You do learn. I mean, especially if you're going into something like business and you're trying to open a business and learn business practices and things like that, you can learn that on the side. But if you want to know the right way to go right away and take the pass and not go through all the bumps and bruises, you can figure out the right way to go. If you're in college, go through college, 4 years of college, you can figure out an easier path than going through the, oh crap, I screwed this up and now I got to regroup and do something. You can probably avoid a bunch of those speed bumps. But
well, I never hit any of those speed bumps.
Right, but it's a different it's a different world that you were in. But someone that's doing that or trying to open up a corporation or something.
I don't know what I would do today. I don't know how you get into radio or how how you in those days.
Right, it's a whole new world.
Yeah, it was just you went into radio stations and begged. I mean.
Yeah.
But Tom, do you agree or disagree with me about that?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that we definitely, now we definitely need more than a high school education. But I would say 2 years of community college or an equivalent of a trade school or apprenticeship. And that's exactly what President Biden is arguing for. He thinks that we should have free education up to, I say, 14 years, say equivalent of community college or apprenticeship or trade school. And that should be enough for
trade school. A trade school will train you in a trade. In fact, I've suggested the doctors go to trade schools. I mean, what is it? It's a trade, but it's a very skilled trade and one that you need a lot of education for, but it's that nonetheless. I just,
like right now, we need a lot of electricians.
Well, that's what
really need, because we have we're trying to electrify the country to reduce our greenhouse gases. We've got the Inflation Reduction Act coming on, but we don't have the electricians to do the actual installations, to do the actual work.
Yeah, and but what have we done with those kind of professions? We've looked down on them.
big mistake.
I know.
Yeah,
I know it's a big mistake.
Well, that's what I like about the high school down here is they have a CTE, a career training education down here, and they've set these kids up when they're coming out of middle school and going into high school. And I probably said this before, but they basically have you decide whether you're going on an academic career or a trade career, and they set you on the path from freshman. When you walk in, you go into college or you going into a trade. This is the way you're going to go, set up the path. And if you take one path and want to trade into another path, you have to opt out and you have to interview your way out of it, the path that you're going into. My daughter picked college and she worked her way through that. If she wanted to decide to go be a welder, which they have a beautiful welding shop, they have a beautiful shop, you could be an auto mechanic, you could be whatever. They had all brand new shops put in the last 4 or 5 years. If she wanted to do that, she had to interview her way out of her academic career and go over there to that path and then sign her way through that. Wow. So it's a
You're freezing.
Alan, you okay?
You're freezing up a little bit. That's why we got it.
It's
part of what you're saying, Alex.
It said something about my internet being down, but there was some problem that we had there. But I think we're okay now. I just looked.
Did you ask me a question?
No, I was asking you a question. The question was, I heard, I don't know where I heard it or who I heard it from. One of these snitches here told me that your mother and father were doctors.
Yeah.
No.
Who are you asking?
You. Alan.
You.
Asking.
No.
He has a degree in microbiology.
Yeah.
Alan does.
Microbiology.
My father had an electrical engineering degree, a doctorate.
Okay.
And my mother was a realtor, a businesswoman.
My father was a
what
doctor.
did they say when you decided to become a cop?
Well, I first started, if I was in microbiology and I was taking biology at the same time, they thought I was going to go to Stanford and I wanted to go into emergency medicine because it looked like, exciting and boom, boom, boom. And when I became a cop, they weren't too happy. But the excitement was there. Obviously, the money wasn't the same, but the schooling wasn't the same either. I mean, I went to 6 months to a police academy and, some training afterwards, and there you are. But, as a doctor, I would have been in school for, 10 years or something like that.
Do you think we should maybe take a little longer time to teach somebody who carries a gun?
Well, the cops aren't going out killing all these people, so
no, I guess not.
They're not the active shooters as a rule. So,
by the way, I did you notice that today their medicine let them get out if they need to get out, but pause because and I was saying when's Biden going to do something about this, because this is getting a little extreme. I mean, when you go and you kill 12 members, and I think Biden came to that conclusion too, So we'll see what happens over there. But boy, it's always grim news from that part of the world now. I mean, really grim.
I think this is going to hurt Biden by not intervening more. It's going to hurt Biden in the election.
No, I think Biden doesn't. I think because there is an election, I don't think he knows exactly how to react. I think if he didn't have another election to face, I think he'd be handling this much more aggressively and say, look, you're not, by killing that many people. Do you know so far, how many Palestinians have been killed in Gaza?
Over 8,000.
9,000. You know how many of them are children? 3,500.
They say I heard 22,000 today, so the numbers are all skewed.
Yeah, well, I'll take the low number and still say it's terrible.
That's
right.
Bad enough.
So, I mean, but at least it was nice to see that he was doing something. But during an election period, which is every year of every election now, you're very careful about what you do. Because if he does that, people are going to say, oh, you're pro-Palestinian? And if
I
he
don't
doesn't,
think
they're
so.
going to say, "What are you, pro-Israel?" I mean, you can't win for losing. You can't just
Well,
do
he
what
is
needs.
pro-Israel. The country has always backed Israel, but
Mhm.
he's asked them to slow down, and how about try a ceasefire to allow
No,
people to get out?
he didn't say ceasefire. He said a pause.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You
Pause.
know, I think it should be a pause to rethink the whole thing and how you're doing it. See, I don't trust Netanyahu. Okay,
Neither.
I
No,
think
neither do I.
I think he's
Nobody does.
I think
Yeah,
he's
there you go. The 3 Jews on the show don't trust.
well. I
him,
think he's
so.
as bad as any dictator. You know, it's the closest thing that Israel has ever had to a dictator. Okay, and I would prefer to see more restraint in this kind of situation rather than hostility. That doesn't help anything. So, you know,
Unfortunately, I have a different attitude than
What-
you might.
what's your attitude?
Well, forget about the fact that the president there is an asshole. I agree to that.
Okay, all right.
Okay, no doubt about that.
And the prime minister.
Right, the prime minister. But anyway, I think there was a whole bunch of people who that they came over and they killed a bunch of Israelis.
Mhm.
I don't know if they figured out that they were going to do it effectively, or they would just kill as many as they could.
Well, look, but
those people are still there. A lot of them.
yes, but how many people do you kill to get to those people? In other words, you know,
Probably more than you have to, but
see, I
there
don't
is
agree with
a
that.
certain number that still needs to be done.
Yeah.
Something.
I don't think that's time to stop.
Alan, quickly, I'm running out of time.
Go ahead.
It's not only the people they killed. A lot of people that got hit in Israel are injured permanently and or temporarily. So it's not just killed.
And traumatize those kids, those babies, kids that they're picking out, just crying and stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
And
then
for
how
both
about the
sides,
kids who
both
are
kids-
how about the
kids
kids who
from
are
both
crying
sides.
on the other side? I mean, it is a horrible, as we call it, shit show on both sides, and it's somewhere. Somebody's got to come in there, like the guy taking 2 bullies in the play yard and getting them to stop fighting and just say, "Hey, put this on pause for a second, and let's rethink this." And I know that Hamas can't be dealt with, but let's at least deal with the civilians who are innocents in this whole thing on both sides. On both sides.
Hamas would show good faith by releasing the hostages.
I don't know about that. I don't trust Hamas any more than I trust Netanyahu.
I don't trust them either, but I think that might slow the Israelis down.
Anyway, hey, that's it for tonight. God, good seeing you again, Tom. Always good to have you here. It's always a pleasure when I see your shining countenance in our midst. Also, thank you to Jeff. And because you disagreed with me tonight, I don't ever want to have dinner with you ever again. Okay?
Finally, you see the real Jeff.
Yeah. No, you see the real Alex. Charlie, thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. And Alan, always a pleasure. Every one of you, give a big wave goodbye, and I'll give a big wave goodbye at you. There they go, folks. That's our citizen panel for tonight. Jack Bishop is next with The Intersection. He'll be here in just a few minutes and be taking your calls let's see here, at GABNet Live on Skype. GABNet Live on Skype. I'll see you tomorrow night. Same time, same station in life. And in the meantime, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? And say happy birthday.